Reading is good. Action is better. What is up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I am your host today, Coach Willie Blake, and I am joined with the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr. And today is a new month and a new book for us to jump into. And I'm so excited because this month we are jumping into the book, The Lean Startup by... I remember his last name now, but
Eric Ries.
There we go. I'm like, it took me forever to remember his last name. Finally got that, and then I totally forgot the first name. Eric Ries, the wonderful author of Lean Startup. As I've been, John, you can, I'm sure, say the exact same thing. As I started reading this, for me personally, I like self-help books that not only just teach principles, but also tell stories. Stories is the best way, at least for me, to learn of how to take in principles. And Eric does a really good idea or really good job of mixing both, of which is not over giving advice, teaching lessons to where it's just like a lecture, but then also not just straight up storytelling. He actually gets to the point of what's going on. I don't know if you've kind of felt that same energy as you've read.
Yeah, I do love the well-balanced storytelling as well as application and information. Without being a story per se, Malcolm Gladwell is a master at this because he shows with anecdotal evidence of the examples of what he's portraying or trying to communicate. And in a very complementative way, Eric Ries here is taking startup example after example after example, but also coupling it with his experience of taking on an executive role or a managerial role in a startup company where he was pressured with the information or pressured with the task of executing a well thought out, a well planned, and a very, very detail oriented business plan. And so his experiences are really they really cut to the heart of any entrepreneur because, I'll admit I have a bachelor's degree. I got a minor in business because I didn't want to go all the way down the road of getting a business degree and move into the MBA consideration. I just wanted to finish my degree and get out because business and entrepreneurship was like my lifeblood, right? I wanted to get into action. I didn't want to just sit there and read books about it. I wanted to read books and do stuff. But it's very interesting how he dives into this idea that we don't have to follow the exact plan put in front of us because sometimes it's not about following the exact plan. It's just you got to have some qualities and some characteristics, and he shares that pretty blatantly in the first parts of this book.
Yeah, and does a really good job at doing it. You and I were talking back in the green room, and we were popping out a bunch of ideas. Mostly you were popping out a bunch of ideas because you're just like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, yes. Today, we're just going to start our discussion. We'll see where it leads to, but we're going to start our discussion with startups require nimble execution. Most companies measure success based on the execution of the business plan or its exact plan results when they need to discover early on if the product even has an audience. Relatable. So relatable. When I first started back in, it was like 2019. I was living in a really small house, 2-bedroom apartment. One bedroom was my wife and I. The other bedroom was storage, basically, of all of our stuff. And I remember I had my box desk. It was like 3 boxes high and an ironing board on top. That's what I used for my desk. And as I was sitting there, one of the things I had was this journal. And in this journal, I had all of my inventions that I had written down. And one of them, I thought, why is this not out there? Why is this invention just not flooding the markets? I took execution on it and did research and realized because it was a stupid product, it wasn't going to be making any money going out and doing anything. And I wouldn't have known. I would have been like, this product just needs to go out there if I continued to be in the planning stage instead of just executing and actually saying, do people really need it? For that, the answer is no. For you champions listening and watching and your businesses that are doing, does your product even have an audience? Doesn't need it. Are you putting in the research? Are you putting in the execution of what you're doing? So that's what we're gonna start off with today, which startups need nimble execution. What are your thoughts, John?
Well, I've got a few stories, but yeah, they truly do. I'll iterate that point because they truly do need nimble execution. In every startup that I've been a part of, I mean, I go to the office and there is no daily plan. There is no schedule. It's literally dumpster fire after dumpster fire that you have to put out every single day because you're just trying to stay afloat, right? You're just trying to make things happen. But on top of the dumpster fire mess you've got on hand, you do also have important tasks to fulfill in order to accomplish what your goal is. And that's vital. That's such an important piece to the entrepreneurial startup vision. I got to go back, like the process of creating an idea as a visionary myself and as somebody who just loves to start things. I mean, that is a drug in and of itself. Like, it is such an addictive drug to come up with really cool, fun ideas. And then to say, yeah, that there's no way that can't work. Like that's definitely going to make millions of dollars. That's definitely going to, just take over. Here's my blind example. As I just brought up that I got a minor which means nothing. It just means I took a bunch of credits and courses in the business and they give you an honorable mention, but it doesn't even go on it goes on your transcript, but not on your diploma. Anyways, I took some business classes and one of them was a web development class. And the senior project was to develop your own app. And I had this brilliant idea. At least it was brilliant to me. And it was, I needed to solve a problem. The problem was there are too many unhealthy people and too many students are getting sick because lack of sleep, lack of water, and they're just drinking like energy drinks and coffee. And so I was like, well, let's incentivize students to drink more water so that we can get rid of this terrible misfortune of being sick during finals. So I decided that we're going to name the app Pee with Friends. And already it's got a lot of red flags. But Pee with Friends was supposed to be an app that measured your water consumption and compared it to the water consumption of your other friends. And basically it was triggered by the amount of times you went to the bathroom. It recorded the number of ounces consumed as well as basically like ounces released, and it would just tell your friends like, hey, so and so they went to the bathroom twice this morning, they're healthy, and it seemed like such a good idea. And even me trying to explain it to you guys to listen to it right now makes me feel so stupid because it was an idea, but I was so sold that this was truly the answer because It was gamified. It was competitive. It had rewards. It was such a cool idea at the time. And, I thought, it doesn't matter if it's stupid or not. I'll just market the heck out of this and people are going to download it and I'll make some money. Well, it sunk to the bottom of the Titanic's ocean, right? It's just like it truly did not have any take. And I got like a B+ on the project. No matter how good the plan is, the product has to have an audience. We kind of learned that last month when we were talking about the previous book we were reading. We have to attract the audience that wants our product. No one wants to share personal information that they're in the bathroom peeing with their friends. Like, no one cares about that. And so I should have seen those signs early on. But again, it is so addicting to go through the creative process of thinking, I have the most brilliant idea. However, there's steps and processes to this. So without like crushing your dreams and crushing your creativity, like be able to table the creative thought process and also be able to build the bridge between application. It's just like the quote you said at the beginning of this episode, Willie, like reading is great, but action is better. And so truly, I was really excited about the creation process, but the action of actually making this a viable product just didn't come through. I was literally watching my favorite TV show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the other day. It's usually my like background music, but Jake Peralta, the character, Jake Peralta, he's like, he was talking about like a new product. And he's like, yeah, I don't know anything about business, but here you go. Here's an idea. Let's do this, and that. And then because it was so creative and it was just making fun of entrepreneurs everywhere, it was like a string of ideas that like seemed like a sprout of incredible creativity. He's like, wait, should I stop being a cop and do this? Like, this seems like $1 million idea. And the whole audience watching the TV show is laughing because they're like, like, we can all relate. We've all had that idea where like we open the fridge and we're like, milk and orange juice, put them together. It's $1 million idea, right? Like something so stupid, but yet we convince ourselves. Anyways, I got off on a tangent there, Willie, but truly, as anecdotal experience shows, like you can be excited about anything, but if they don't have an audience, if it's not a good product, then you kind of start from zero.
Yeah, that reminds me of when you're talking about mixing stuff. I loved as a kid, and I guess I still do love doing it now. I love mixing sodas, like different type of sodas. I thought of myself as this mixologist growing up. Whenever I go to like a pizza joint or fast food place or restaurant, I'd always go up and just mix all the sodas, or at least, whatever sodas I wanted, just to see like what the taste was of it. And so I remember being at my house when I did this. I mixed orange soda, I'm not going to say any brand names, orange soda with root beer and then some Sprite with it. Mix it all together. And I'll tell you what, that's the first time I've ever tasted a bubblegum flavor soda by mixing those three things. And I wouldn't have gotten there if the 4 years before that I wasn't just completely crazy and mixing sodas. But even now, literally, we have a soda shop right next to our place. Whenever we go there, we get the kids the Baby Shark drink and the Pink Perfection because my little girl loves pink. And then I always get the Uncle Sam, which the Uncle Sam is blue raspberry, and then I can't remember the rest of it. But the sodas, it's usually Sprite. I have two favorite soda combinations. I love Sprite and Powerade, just because like a little zest of Powerade. But my ultimate favorite is Sprite and lemonade. So every time I go there, I'm just like, can we do half Sprite, half lemonade? Because it is, in my opinion, the best combination of soda. And I thought, this is a great idea, but I didn't execute on it. Little did I know that I believe Sprite actually came up with a drink that is a mixture of Sprite and lemonade. Years later, like a decade later, after me figuring out that this was the best thing in the world, all of a sudden, this other company realizes it too, and they went out and they're making millions of dollars off of it. And I'm like, dang, if I only executed, if I only actually did it. So when it comes to like you got the plan and you got the execution. If you don't have an audience for it, the plan doesn't work as well. And if it does work, but you don't create a plan to be able to execute with it, then you're high and dry as well. So,
Yeah.
John, actually, this question came up, and I'm sure you have another thought that you can add on to it. How do we find a perfect balance? What's the step-by-step process to where those who are listening can go from where they're at with this thought idea to executing it and finding if the audience is there?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. It does tie into what I was going to say a minute ago, because the answer is not the answer our audience nor what we hope to expect. And the answer is it depends. Like it truly does. Because look, there is no perfect plan. And the perfect plan assembled, executed, and achieved is nothing compared to what was on paper. And that's because so many things come up, so many things just go awry. I just moved into a new house, and my wife and I have literally just accepted. We've like wiped our hands clean of expecting that everything's going to go right the first time we try, because we start putting together a piece of furniture. Of course, we're missing screws. We start like drilling holes in walls. Of course, there's no, stud on the other side of that wall. Like there's so many things that are happening when we're just like, yeah, let's just do it. It's so easy. We watch HGTV all the time, and we see these house builders and people, they just put things up on their wall like it's nothing. And all of a sudden we're realizing you just can't do that. You gotta have tools and respond, but at the same time too, the answer isn't as difficult either. And that's why it sucks, because it's like, I wish I could give you that balanced answer. But from my personal experience, and again, I've started a dozen plus businesses. A few of them still stand today as positive representations of my direction, my true north, as he talks about in the book here. And that's okay. Like, I'm not a failure of a person, but I have used failure to fuel my fire and to head in directions that keep me afloat, right? That keep me going. And the only reason why I would continue to do them is because I believe passionately, and things keep me going for sure. But long story short is there a balance? I'm sure there is. But that's unique to each person and that business. The early days of me running a company called Amplified Minds was truly just like dumpster fire after dumpster fire. But then on top of that, hey, let's have some innovation opportunities. Let's think about it. And, Amplified Minds didn't fail. It just transitioned into a new company venture that we renamed called Champion Circle. And so that really, really cool opportunities there. But I do remember working for Coldwell Banker, and we had a fearless leader in Coldwell Banker, and he's a famous guy. You'll see him on the History Channel. He's the owner and operator of a farm out in Utah called Skinwalker Ranch. We won't get into it on this episode, but anyways, one of the things I loved is that in every article and in every description of his business, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. And the description of his business was a quick and nimble, solution-oriented brokerage. And I always thought that was interesting. Like, there are so many other creative words out there, but he always said quick and nimble, meaning we find solutions fast, and sometimes they may not be the perfect answer, but they're just the answer that we need to bridge that gap. And so to answer your question, Willie, for me, balance is about quick and nimble. It's how quickly can you find a solution, not the solution, because if you remember by Wayne Dyer, here's your way, here's my way, the way doesn't exist. So find a way, right? Find something. And to me, like, quick and nimble is what it's all about. You've got to just be willing to roll with the punches, because you will get hit first. And when you do get hit, do you fall down or do you strike back? Do you get into a defensive position, or can you find a balance between offense and defense? And I'm moving back into sports analogies naturally, but that's truly my answer. And what I feel from my personal experience is the results of building and starting and operating businesses. But that's my experience. You could start a easy, let's see, you could start an AI-based business with little to no risk, because it's just based off of the coding and the results it provides. And again, like, you could just live that balance and live in peace and do all kinds of things. Or you could start a business that literally is the opposite of that, and it's pure stress and pure chaos all the time. And it just depends. It truly does. But that's my opinion. I'll pass it back to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Along those exact same lines. There's not a way to do something. If there was a way, whoever figured it out first time would have created the blueprint or that, and it would literally work for every single individual that goes out and does it. How many of you, I'm talking to you listeners, how many of you have ever paid for a coaching program or have paid for a webinar? I know my hand's going up too. Or gone to a conference and paid for their services or product, and they created it based off of their experience and everything they did and their success with it. So you jump in, fire's gun ablazing, just ready to go. A couple days, couple of weeks, maybe even a couple months or a couple of years go by, and you still don't have the results that they had. There is not a single way to do it. But the bestest way that I have found is doing it your way. Doing it the way that works for you. I've always seen at college, I'll say it this a different way. I've always questioned why the marketing student has to take a biology class. That always just seemed weird to me. But I realized that they do that because the generals for the associate's degree is to test the field. It is to get out there and get experience. It is to put your foot in science and finance and business. It's to put your foot into the economy, put it into psychology, put it like there's so many different areas in which you put your experience into. And it's there, my belief is that it's there so that you can start to learn yourself what you are wanting to do the rest of your life. And I think that's fantastic. That is not the way, but it is an amazing way to be able to create the life that you want and go with the vision that you have. Because when you're out there executing, you're learning, you're moving. If you're just sitting there not doing anything, coming up with this plan, you might be like myself back when I was a junior in high school, be like, I have always wanted to be a vet. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a vet. And then I walked out into, I think it was called like J-Tech or C-Tech or whatever. It was like a college course thing that you can do in high school. And it was in a different building off campus. Went there for a pre-orientation while they were showing us around the vet degree type thing. And I walked into this room and there were cages all around full of rats and snakes. And I walked right out and said, I am done being a vet. I do not want to do that. I could have stayed on my couch. I could have stayed just playing with animals and be like, a vet is what I wanted to do. And then the moment I got out and started to execute and take action was the moment I realized I love animals. I do not want to be a vet. So then I went to computer technology, realized I didn't want to do that. Went to accounting, realized I don't want to be behind a cubicle after a year and a half of doing that. And then finally ended up in this wonderful world of business and personal development. And I'm like, I'm in love with this. It took me a decade to get here, but I'm in love with this. And that's simply because I was dipping my toes in experience. And all of us should be dipping our toes in experience. I don't know why it feels so cringy when I say it like that, but dip your toes in the experience of of just everything that there is to offer, and you will start to realize the wonderful things that you like, the other things that you dislike, and then you just do more of what you like and less of what you dislike. Bada bing, bada boom. There's your execution plan. John, as we wrap up this episode, I'd love to hear your final thoughts on it all.
I love that Willie stamp of here's how I did it, what's your way, and I appreciate that because again, that just proves the point. Like every journey is unique, and there isn't going to be a way. I fall victim of picking up the newest bestseller, New York Times bestseller, thinking this book will solve my problems. And I'm going to get a step-by-step plan from the text of this book. And of course, because I'm flawless, I will execute the plan flawlessly and it's going to be perfect. And by reading this book, I too will have massive success, money out the wazoo and yada, yada. Like I fall victim of that. But again, my personal interests are always to read the 5-step program or that easy blog read about getting things done, right? I love those things. I'm just attracted to them. Should I spend less time reading them and more time doing them? Probably. But at the same time, too, each plan is unique and each plan is different. The timeline that you just described, Willie, is beautiful because I'll iterate this last point here. Eric Ries says, if you cannot fail, you cannot learn. And we've heard variations of that quote in so many different ways. You know, fail fast, fail forward. Les Brown says, if you fall down, learn to fall on your back. Because if you can look up, then you can get up, right? All of those things kind of iterate the same point, which is failure is part of the process. Like, look, you can fail and you'll still survive. But that's the thing is like, looking fear in its eyes and saying, okay, I did not accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to be a vet. I walked in and I walked right back out. I sure hope that doesn't happen to me the day I walk in to go get my pilot's license. Like I've been wanting to fly my entire life. But at the same time, I recognize that there are things that drive us. And I'll always fall back on Napoleon Hill's first principle of success, which is desire. If you have a desire, a will to win, and it's something that truly doesn't scare you off, then you'll make it happen. But in the meantime, just expect to fail. Expect there to be road bumps. Nothing's going to work on the first try. And if it does, if it were easy, we'd all be doing it. If it were easy, we would all be rich. If it were easy, we would all have so much more under our belts. But yet it's not. And that is truly not the detriment to this principle. It is the beauty, because creativity is truly something of worth oohing and awing at, because it's not perfect. It comes from a place of, well, imperfection. And I love this. I love the concept of this book, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to discuss it and read it. So I look forward to a few more episodes where we can dive deeper into the concepts and teach a little bit of principle. But from the beginning, I just want my testimony to the audience to resonate that, look, it's not going to be perfect. The bridge is definitely going to be like swinging from jungle vines on occasion. But is it worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely worth it.
Well said. I'm excited too. I'm excited to get more into this book. It has so many different things that we can jump into the next several episodes. But for this one, there you go, champions. There is an overview, as well as just when it comes down to the execution. Do it your own way, because that's truly the only way that's right for you. And with that, champions, that wraps up this episode of Champion Reads. If you have found inspiration in it, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as go check us out on our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll find the link to the podcast, our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be awesome champions you are. Continue to execute on what you're doing. And always remember that there are so many different ways to do stuff, but the best way is your way. So take your way. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.